Hey guys, welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. Chelsea just drew 0-0 to Brentford away from home. Goalless, couldn't score a goal, neither could Brentford, to be honest, and I guess it was equally contested in some ways. However, I am disappointed with Chelsea, to be quite frank with you today, because I think Maresca and the way he set us up from the get-go, it just really set us up to fail, I think. Every fixture from here on is so important, and we know that these games that are left, 4-5 wins need to come from somewhere. Great, we beat Tottenham. We always do. Lovely to beat Tottenham. But we've got some difficult fixtures coming up. Teams against which we didn't pick up points in our better run of form. And that kind of leaves me with a bit of a concern, especially with how I've seen us play recently. I don't really know what Maresca was thinking. Well, I do, and I don't agree with it. And yes, okay, Palmer and Nicholas Jackson were fit to start against Tottenham. Maybe he said, I want to be a bit cautious and not start them in this one, because we supposedly still have enough quality in the name of Nkunku and, Sancho and Dewsbury Hall to still see out a win. And I think that's where we failed from the start, because recent history shows us Brentford is a fixture that we do struggle in. Brentford just are that team that we just do struggle against, Results are never easy. If you guys remember the win at home before the bad patch began, it wasn't an easy game. We could have drawn in the end, and Brentford were literally testing us till the very end, and we just looked so frail. And again, I just think that Maresca never really should have underestimated this game. I'm not saying he did, but I'm thinking that he had a bit too much faith in players who really have shown us not much at all this season. And here I'm referring to Christopher Nkunku. We know that he is not a replacement for Jackson, and he is not remotely the same level in terms of what Nicholas Jackson can offer and what Christopher Nkunku offers. So it's not a like-for-like player at all. And I think you could see that because we really did miss Jackson, and we miss Palmer, and we miss Neto, clearly, because when they came on, eventually things livened up. So my thinking after that is, why couldn't have we started these players, got the result, scored first, and then you could take them off in the second half, as opposed to vice versa? When clearly you've invited all the pressure now, we're struggling, and Brentford have come close to scoring 2-3 goals themselves, and yet you're expecting the dynamic of the game to shift, and you're expecting us to perform better and get the result in the second half. And that's where the naivety came from. So from that part of things, Maresca has got some blame to take. I understand perfectly the desire to protect players and to keep them fit and to not rush them back instantly. However, you could easily have started these players and then just taken them off later on. Instead, you did it the other way around, and now it actually ended up coming to bite us back. So that's where Maresca set us up wrong, and that's where what Chelsea fans feared upon seeing the lineup was actually evident on the pitch. I think the first kind of half was it was poor, it was boring, it was poor quality, it was disappointing, and I think that you could see we were struggling to kind of string passes, we were struggling to get crosses off and even look very sharp in attack. We weren't really forming or stringing attacks, and Brentford were very easily overturning us and dispossessing us, and they applied the pressure, and we actually just played into their hands with that. So it was a real struggle. Sancho was, I said to myself at one point, when we talk about Sancho and how, individually he could be doing so much more this season, but he was robbed of an assist from Christopher Nkunku in the first half, where it was a very simple pass from the left. It was like a square. He squared it from the left flank into Nkunku, who just couldn't control the ball. It's a very, very simple thing to ask for, yet you can't do it. That's where we should have been 1-0 up already. Yeah, again, we'll walk away and Sancho will get criticised later on. But then these are the things that other players around him are letting him down for. And Nkunku, when he was deep, he was waiting for the ball to come to him rather than going to the ball. So that's where people and fans have started to form the theory that he's got a bit of a lazy attitude, and frankly, he should be doing a lot more. And it was so evident. And that's where you clearly see, and you miss Jackson from the get-go. So that was a poor decision. And I think individually there was a lot of players today, like Gusto, who I'm not too sure what. Was it an off day? But then again, there's been many days like that where he's really, really struggled in games, but he couldn't make the passes happen. He was struggling with crosses and just very, very simple things. And, you know, I've often cut him slack because he has been massively played in different positions, and Maresca has very often switched things up with what he does with Malo Gusto, but I'm struggling to see the player from last year as well. So overall, we were lacking so much chemistry, and this is what I worry with, because we talk about results. Okay, we didn't really get a result today, and we didn't really have the performance for it either, but where and how do we gear up to get the performances in the next few games, guys, when we set up against teams that have been doing well and can punish us and can actually finish the chances that Brentford missed today as well? And that's the issue there as well. So it's a bit of a struggle, and today I think, yes, it's a 0-0 draw. Some people might say, oh, we were lucky to take a point away. But I think we're at a point in the season now where we are taking the wider context into consideration here and what this means for our Champions League spot finish. And it's a bit concerning. So obviously in the second half, things livened up a little bit. We were testing Brentford a little bit more. Just very unlucky to not be able to get our groove and get on the end of some of those balls. But again, why did we need to liven up in the second half of the players that just could have started in the first? It just felt very backwards, I think. Neto was very direct when he came on. You know, he had a crack. He tried to shoot a couple times. Unlucky. Obviously, Enzo had a go. It blazed high above the bar. Palmer at the death of the game. Also very unlucky to not be on target. But you can see that actually Cole Palmer coming on, well, they knew exactly what to do to ensure that he didn't get into the game in terms of actually cause and create chaos. So yeah, he was shut out. Maybe if he starts, like we have seen, he's very, very good at kind of seizing control from the get-go and dictating play from central attacking midfields, being creative, laying off passes, crossing, etc. So it was disappointing in that regard. And also, guys, I can't lie to you, in many occasions of that game, I was bored. I think you can all agree. It was quite boring at times. But yeah, tricky. Newcastle beat Brentford the other day. Obviously, Aston Villa won their game, and it does mean that pressure is pressuring now. Manchester City play Manchester United after us today, so that game is going on literally in a moment, and we have to root for Manchester United because City is City and they can always do something. You know, it's Pep Guardiola at the end of the day, and you'd probably back him to get a Champions League spot finish over us. So it's tricky. And these performances, they're not great. Something these need to change. We obviously distract ourselves with some Conference League action. But again, you know, I don't believe that we rested key players for that game. It's more of a Maresca's trying to protect these players. And I get that. However, there is a way of doing things, because clearly if they started last game, they were fit and they are fit. There's a way of doing them. There's a way of doing these things. Take them off gradually. But they should have started, in my opinion. That lineup was too much of a gamble. And frankly, yeah, it didn't work out in the end. Sanchez, I think, yeah, a couple saves, but still not much praise from me today, because equally had his moments where at one point he caught the ball, it literally slipped out of his hands again. He was distributing it into Brentford players as well. So those kind of big concerns and big question marks still stand. So we all know what Sanchez is like. And yeah, I guess we kept a clean sheet. So that's a positive, isn't it? Woohoo. But the way that we struggled massively and the simple, small mistakes we made, we were actually lucky not to concede as well. So, yeah. I know a lot of you guys are going to be quite annoyed as well, so let us know in the comments down below how you're feeling. Not a great look, and it doesn't fill you with much confidence moving forward into the next fixtures. And we really have to ask ourselves, I know this is looking way ahead to something that's not even certain yet, and that's Champions League football, but these performances, they're not going to cut it in Champions League football. Not in the league phase that's now there, not if it was in the groups like they were before the format changed. So, yeah, that's just a food for thought there. But very, very poor. Anyways, guys, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV if you haven't done so already to stick around for more content like this. Hit the like button and also check out my personal channel, Nina's Chelsea Corner, which will be linked in the description down below. I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday, guys, and yeah, we'll see you soon.